Hi, everybody. It's Talk to Me Tuesday. It's your girl, Anja. And today I'm here with somebody who took partying to the next level and made it his business for 22 plus years. Please help me welcome. Hi, Adam.
Hello. Thanks
How
for
are
having me.
you?
Doing terrific.
Good, good, good. So I have to know, how did this even come to be? So I think you started off as a DJ?
I actually started as a drummer, and I needed to pay my way through college, and it wasn't going to happen through drums. But I had this passion for music, and I was always kind of mixing music at home. And a friend of mine said, "You should be a DJ." And literally, the light bulb went off, and that's when I started. And slowly but surely, I kind of, even though I'm still a percussionist and a drummer, the
Mhm.
DJ just took off, and I just never looked back.
So what was that like when he was like, you should be a DJ? So did you go to like a nightclub? Did you do birthday parties? Like, where were you DJing at?
Well, first of all, when he said you should be a DJ, it's exactly what I thought of, because
Okay.
I know I'm a little bit older than you, but I would have my sister would have like a Sweet 16 party or some type of party, and what you used to do is you used to call the radio stations,
Mhm.
and you call the radio station, say, "Hey, I'm looking for a DJ," and they would show up with mountains of records and all this equipment. And when they used to come to my house, I was fascinated by this. And I just said to myself, "Wow, that's really amazing how they were bringing the radio station to you."
Yeah.
And so now bringing it forward, when my friend said, "You should be a DJ," I was like, "What do you mean I should be a DJ?" He said, "Yeah, man, I'm DJing weddings and kid parties and schools." And I was just like, "Yeah, it didn't really appeal to me." But the fact that he was DJing, and I was like, "Well, what do you mean you were DJing?" And so when
Yeah.
I started, it was all, believe it or not, on cassette tapes. So that shows you
Um,
where the industry came at that time. And it was like, really, when I got into it, the mobile DJ is what they call it, was really groundbreaking, because bands were starting to phase out. They were expensive, a lot of people. Um, and as technology grew with audio, so did, the DJs and the radio stations decided they were too much celebrities, and this new thing was coming out. So when I started doing weddings and schools and doing everything for, $10 an hour, and in 1981, God, I'm afraid to say that, that was huge money. $10 an hour. I was
yeah.
like, "Oh my God, this is like manna from heaven."
Rich.
I couldn't believe it. And then
Wait,
when
hold on. How did you have a whole bunch of cassette tapes already? Because like you said, you started off because you needed money. So where did all your music come from?
so he told me about this company, and the company would give you everything. They gave you
Oh,
the
okay.
full sound system. All I had to do was have a tuxedo or a nice suit.
Mhm.
But really, was the amazing thing for me was the power of rhythm. And because my passion for playing drums and rhythm, and how I could see how music and just putting songs together in a specific order,
Mhm.
and no one telling you how to do it. I mean, no one trains you how to be. I mean, nowadays, being a DJ, no one talks about programming,
Right.
and that's a big part of it. And so when I could see how it moved people, and all of a sudden, I could care less what type of event it was. It was about moving people, and, uh, you know, getting people to react, getting people
Mhm.
to, and that reaction that music brings to you, not only emotion, but just the feeling it gives you. And, I think being a mobile DJ at that time, it was real cutting edge stuff. Even though I was doing it with cassettes. And then I phased into nightclubs and things like that, where I really learned what a DJ was. And so many people, they use the term, I know you probably have another question, right? So many people say DJ, but they don't even know what that term's from.
Okay, what does that mean?
That means the term is short for disc jockey. And the
Okay.
reason why they call it a disc jockey was in radio stations. And if you think about that movie, what is it? Good Morning Vietnam.
Yes.
I think that's the name of it, where you see
It's a classic.
Classic, and he's on the microphone and he's like, "Good morning,
Vietnam.
Vietnam." Yeah, he was moving his own records. He was jockeying all the discs because they were 45s, and those guys were, hence the name disc jockey, because they were jockeying all those discs. So that's where the term comes from.
So when you are DJing any event, what does that feeling do to you? Like, do you feel like you're controlling the crowd? Do you feel like you're a part of the crowd? What is that like?
Well, the people that I admire and respect, they always taught me, it's a give and take with your audience. You're giving to them and they're giving back, and so everyone's got to give and take. So it's an amazing feeling when you're behind all this equipment and you pick up a song and you're beat matching it and mixing it with another song or just a portion of, and you see the response. I'm now giving this to the audience and hoping and wishing or whatever, saying, this is going to be it. You're going to love this, and in return, they give back by moving and being involved and giving me the energy back. And I think as DJs, whether it be a club guy or, special events, which is what I'm in, it's that energy you feel, that give and take off the dance floor. That's the magic.
It is so magical. My question though is, let's say you're doing like a wedding or a birthday party, or somebody was like, had you come in for like a private event and they really like certain songs, but your audience doesn't seem to be loving it. How do you balance between pleasing your client and knowing that the party is just not loving this song or this genre of music? Does that ever happen?
Unfortunately, it happens every week. And it's hard to say to somebody, wow, your taste in music's not good. But you can't say that. And it's not necessarily their taste in music is bad. It's about asking questions. What do you think that's going to feel like at your party? How do you think that's going to sound at your party? What type of vibe do you want at your party? And a lot of times, especially if you're dealing with a couple, one is like, yeah, it's usually she saying, I know he really likes this, but he's not a big dancer. He will dance, but this is what he really likes. So now you find yourself going, okay, it's now my job as the guy that programs and mixes to make that work. And it's like any job. How many times does your boss come to you and say, hey, I know this is going to mess up your plan, even though that's not what they're saying. They're saying, oh, here's all the stuff. You need to make this work within this. And you're like, oh my God, I can't reach the budget. I can't do this. But you make it work. And it's the same thing. You either do maybe shortened versions of the song, or you take an excerpt from the song, or if you're really good, you do things like I do, is you add a beat to the song. So maybe it's a song from like the 70s and it's a really soft beat and they want a driving up tempo party, but they got to have this song. Sometimes they'll come up and say, hey, I want to hear ABC song, whatever song it is right now, because they love that song. And you're going, oh no, that doesn't really fit. Doesn't fit. But it's the art of what we do as disc jockeys, as DJs, is being able to manipulate rhythm, manipulate music to, I don't want to say manipulate the crowd, but to engage the crowd. And so it's kind of, again, goes back to, educating the client, being a little bit magical and creative. Yeah.
How did you not just become like just a gig DJ? How did you actually become a full-time DJ?
A company,
Yeah.
it's really hard. It's really hard. I think it was different for me, just given my age and the period I grew up in, versus some of these guys I talk to that really want to be full-time. And some of these people I meet are really talented, but unfortunately, I think the conversation, well, the attitude of you got to have a side hustle.
Yeah.
And I think with the society pushing this narrative of a side hustle takes away from people's, the true talent and people that want to gravitate and do that. And I think that's with any industry versus, hey, this is my side hustle. And I think the people that really are passionate about something, like I am about music, it could be just, what music does and how it drives people and the emotions it creates. Whatever drives you is going to carry you past that.
Okay.
And at some point, I think as you're becoming a full-time DJ like I am, a lot of guys are like, well, how do you do it? How do you do it? They're doing the show, and it's the passion from that show that gets them another show.
Okay.
And the passion from that gets them another show. So as they build, and the people, they always say the cream rises to the top, right? So it's like in any industry. I think if you're driven and you have passion, a lot of times it's just drive and passion that takes you, and you don't know what to do next. You just know that you got to do it.
Yeah.
And I think those are the things. And as you get more shows, you realize, well, maybe I can make this a business. And I think that's what separates people. And then that's the hard part, because then you go, oh no, it's so easy to go, hey, I'm in business for myself. But then when
Yeah.
you really start to do it, you really think about, what does it take to be in business? All of a sudden, those dreams and passion and desire kind of like, oh my God, all the things I love now, because now you have to be ready to do things like licensing, insurance, and actually be a business. And I think those are what separates people that are really passionate. They're willing to, okay, I'm going to put this aside for a moment while I figure out how to be a business.
Does that suck the fun out of it for you, or like the passion side out of it? Because you're like, I don't want to do all this stuff. I just want to DJ, but be a business. Or do you find the fun aspects in all of that as well to push you forward?
I think it's the fear of the unknown, to be honest with you. And I think that's what scares people. And I think not knowing also hampers people. And I think for me, as I got started, and I would take these steps into becoming a legitimate business, a real name, whether it was an LLC or incorporated. I'm incorporated. Spending the money. Sometimes you need a lot of money up front. You got to hire an attorney. You got to get an accountant. You got to get a bank account. You got to print materials. You got to do all this stuff. And I think as I started to do it, at the first step was the scariest, but then you realize, wow, oh my God, am I actually doing it? And you're like, yeah, you're doing it. Wow, I'm incorporated. Oh, wow, wait, I got an attorney, what?
Is it like one step in front of the other, like one step at a time type of feeling?
Yes, but also some things have to go hand in hand.
Okay.
Like the setting up the business and an attorney or there's certain things you need to spend the money on that's worth spending the money on. Now, in the beginning. And then once you're kind of in a legitimate business, then really, for me, it just really kicks in, because then you're legitimate now. Now no one can say you're not really legitimate.
Yes.
And having legitimacy for what you do, I think for people is important, because then all of a sudden it becomes real and tangible. And if you're someone just starting out and you have drive and passion and work ethic, then it's easier for that person to make that jump and see legitimacy as being value to their project, value to what they do, as opposed to a lot of guys that just want to do the side hustle. And they say, well, I'm in business for myself. They may get a tax ID number, for their taxes so they can write their equipment off. Or at the same time, I always tell guys, you be careful, you got to pay taxes on that equipment. And they don't realize that. So I'm able to help people in my position, not only kind of I always say I'm a stepping stone, because so many people I work with, but I see people that are passionate and driven. And if I can help them make a step towards their passion, whether it being a business owner or furthering their career, that's a win for me. That's a win for my industry. That's a win, in the sense that it legitimizes what I do, as opposed to so many of the people, whether, in the arts, that say, well, I'm in business, but the reality is that's just a side hustle or, a part-time job.
So my question with you saying that is, I'm a client. Let's say I'm a client. I'm looking for a DJ, and I have one that's like on the higher end, and I have one that's like kind of dirt cheap. And how do I know, why would I pay more for this one over here versus somebody I got off of Craigslist who was like, I'll do it for like almost free? What's the difference in quality? Because it's like, oh, they're just DJs. They all play the same music. Like, what would be the difference between good quality and like just somebody out here poor quality?
Excellent question. It's so hard. And I see every day. And most people don't know the difference, and you can't explain the difference. It's having them create a picture in their mind. And as you give them photos, or even if they don't have a photo, you have to paint that picture. What does that look like? What does that sound like? What does that feel like? What do you, based on what you told me this, this, and this. Does that feel like that and see like that? And then they have to paint that own picture in their mind. I literally just this weekend, I was the third choice of a DJ. And what I mean by that, their first choice, she wasn't available. And I happened to know her. Second choice, he wasn't available. I happen to know him as well. They were referred to me. I go out and see them. It's a 50th birthday party on this huge property in their backyard. And long story short is, at the end of the conversation, I'm like, you don't need a DJ. That's a waste of money. And they were like, what?
Yeah, what?
They were like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's not what you need at all. You told me this, 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 and this, as I laid it all out. I'm like, you'd be best served, spending your money doing this, 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 and this. They were like, what? I never thought of that. And it was about doing lighting and just having audio for them. And, it's not about dancing for them. And I just said, I'm not going to try to compete with your two favorite DJs. So I'm going to suggest this. And I think this is what you need for the party. By the time we finished our second meeting, they never once brought up music to me, ever. They never brought up music ever in the conversations from that point forward, for that meeting and a half. And you know why? Because what they realized was they didn't need a DJ at all. They just needed an event specialist, someone who understood, yes, they need audio. Yes, they need some decor elements. So a lot of times these DJs that I get, are just so focused on, this is what they do. And that's okay. And that's great. This is what they do. They stay in their lane. But as a business owner, you evolve. And it's become not just a passion for mixing music. It's a passion for a great event.
Yeah.
Sorry, my screen's off. It's a passion for a great event. And, by the time we finished the meeting and she had addressed, we addressed the budgets, we confirmed she's committed. Last thing I said to her, I said, and her husband, I said, I guess you'll send me a list of music you want so I can program. They're like, oh yeah, music. And they were like, it was like, because that really wasn't what they needed or wanted, but they
Yeah,
contacted a DJ thinking, well, I'm having a party. I guess I
need
need a
the
DJ.
music.
I need
Yeah, I
music.
just need a DJ. Yeah,
Right. I need a DJ. And there's so many guys out there that, I mean, would have been a waste of their talent, you know, that they could have gotten, and someone who's amazing mixer or great on the microphone,
yep,
they were going to squander that talent away. Um, and so now what I really found out was she doesn't really, those aren't her favorite DJs at all. They were just people that she was comfortable with. It's
yeah,
about comfortable, you know? So a lot of times with these DJs that I talk to, I say, you know, you really got to find out what these people want, because sometimes you could have a whole closet full of lighting or something that you've been wanting to get out, and they just need a couple speakers and some lights in a nice place. And
yep.
wow, now all of a sudden you just want a client for life. Next time she needs a DJ, there's no other DJ she's going to call but you. And
True.
so sometimes it's about just asking questions, having the experience. Sometimes it's hard to say no to people. It's scary because you don't want to lose it. But sometimes it's better to just be honest, because you know you know a lot of times people aren't getting the honest information. They just
That's
know
true.
that they want, you know, and so I just come from a different school. So the moment I said no, the moment I said you don't need that, the moment I said a waste of time, a waste of money, really going to be unhappy, you know, at the end of the day, she's spending more than she wants to spend,
Hmm.
but she's getting exactly what she wants and needs.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
and I think when any business, when you become a resource and you're not afraid to tell the client no,
Hmm.
um, they respect you. So I don't
Yeah,
know if I answered
I
your
agree.
question or got away from it, but
No, you gave some good gems, so we're here for it. I love it. So my
good
question
talk.
for this moment would have to be, because as you were talking and I was thinking about your life as a DJ, I feel like you've sacrificed. I don't know if it's a sacrifice because it's truly your passion, but every weekend, every night, like, doesn't belong to you. It really belongs to, where you're DJing. So do you ever get kind of like down or sad that like you don't really have a weekend to yourself to call your own?
Mm, that's a tough question. Yeah, it's really being a performer. Anyone that it wants to do something in the public like this, it really is amount of sacrifice. It's I've missed. I mean, friends don't even invite me to events anymore. I mean, I haven't been invited. I mean, it's very rare. Rare. I'll be at a party and they'll be like, or you know, recently, or a gathering or something, like from COVID, because you know I'm able to attend some gatherings, and they'll start talking about an event, and they don't even think twice. That you know, they know I'm not invited. And it's not that they're being insulting. It's just they know I've spent my career working weekends, and everyone else's, you know, life is Monday through Friday usually. So they're planning life-changing events, weddings, you know, family functions, you know, and they just stop inviting you after a while, you know.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn to accept, hey, it's not that you're not loved or liked or what have you. It's just they just know that you're not going to attend.
Hmm.
Um,
Do
you
you
know,
ever go to like so I've worked in the party industry as well, clearly. And I feel like sometimes when I did have weekends off and I did go to an event, I was kind of like, oh, the DJ could be better. The lighting was could be a little different just deep inside, because like partying is part of like my business and how I make my money as well. Do you, being like the boss of a major company, ever feel like when you go to another event that's not yours that like could have done it better?
isn't that awful? I'm sure chefs you know, they can't go out to dinner either, you know? Um, yeah, it's frustrating. And I try not to do that. I try to live in the moment as well. You know, I've had friends that tell me, you know, hey, Adam, you know, we want your advice, but we want you to come in and have fun, you know? A perfect example is my friend Alan, his daughter was getting married. And I'm like, well, of course, Alan, we're DJing the party. We're doing everything. And he's like, but
Mhm.
you're an invited guest. Your families are invited, I'm like, yeah. No, we're doing this for you. And, you know, literally, even though we had people there to do the event and I was still
Mhm.
there, they were like, come sit down and eat. Come sit, I couldn't sit down. So while my wife is at a table
Yeah.
conversing with all the guests, I'm still by the DJ booth. I'm making announcements. I'm checking the caterer. I'm making sure they get that photograph. I can't help it, especially when it's somebody I care about. But yes, it's difficult, but at the same time, um, it's nice to go out. It's nice to be a guest.
Yes.
And you know what? It's good to eat off the hors d'oeuvre table. It's good to be waited on sometimes at these events or affairs. And I try to take that in as well because I missed out on so much of it. I try to forget what I know about the back of the house. I try to
Yes.
forget what I know about catering. I try to forget what I know about the timeline and whatever. I just try to live in that moment and say and be happy for that person or people
Mhm.
or family or guests, or just actually just enjoy a party and just hang out and not worry about, you know, but it's hard. It's really
So
hard.
It's so hard. So you brought up your wife, and she's such a lovely person. And so would you say she's one of your biggest supporters, like your biggest fans? Like, what would you say about how you guys just work so beautifully together?
My wife and I do work beautifully together. She's my biggest fan, my biggest talent. She's a rock star. And to go back to what you said earlier, with passion and drive, you need to have a support system. My parents always told me, you got to follow your dreams. Both my parents followed their dreams and they're uber successful people. Um, and they realized I was not going to be a doctor or an accountant or an attorney or a plumber or anything normal in life. They were like, okay, they threw up their hands like, you got to follow your dreams and so I had a good support system to, and then I met Shannon and wow, what a force to be reckoned with. I mean, just exuberant personality out there. My clients loved her. I literally tried to date her and she wouldn't go out with me. And she would kind of go out with me a little bit, but I was starting my own business and all my clients were like, and they'd seen me work with her.
Mhm.
And they said, oh, we're just great, Adam. We'll work with you, but where's that terrific woman you work with? And I was like, what? You're not going to work with me? I'm like, no, we're not. We're still,
We
where's
need
that
her
woman?
too.
We
We need
want
her.
her. So I was like, Shannon, you got to come. You got to come work with me. She's like, it's a ploy to date me. So I just think I wore her down to the point where not only were we phenomenal performers together, we really were. It was really just magic when we worked together. And I think clients saw that, the audience saw that, and she was just magic. And we could just read each other. And from that, grew into dating. And of course, now we're married. And she's recently retired out of the business. But I gave her 20 years to be a professional dancer and to follow her dreams and to give somebody an opportunity, whether it's someone part-time with me to follow their dreams to be a dancer or an MC or a performer, and to do that unconditionally with support. It's magic for me. And it's just
I
as
love
not
it.
her, it's people that I like, you and other people I've come in contact that I'm like, wow, man, that's magic, and it's all of a sudden their performance has now ramped up my performance, which ramps up
Mhm.
their performance. And it's this whole thing going back out to feeding off each other. Well,
Mhm.
those people I'm working with, the dancers and musicians, it's kind of like I'm behind this iron wall of stuff, lights and equipment. I'm fully protected.
Yeah.
All the dancers and musicians, they're literally naked to the world. And what I mean by that, there's nothing to shield them. There's no microphone there. There's no facade. There's no drum set, and to give of yourself of that. And for me not to feed it and not to be there, to be that safety, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, that's kind of was like, and it was magic. And my clients saw that differentiated me and those dancers and players. They were like, wow, that energy, that magic. And I think with Shannon, to do that was amazing. And to have that, not everyone can be with their spouse 24/7. We lived together, we ended up marrying, we worked together, it was 24/7, lots of give and take. And not everyone has that, but they're all about support. And I think if someone has the right support and they're driven and passionate, it doesn't mean they're going to reach the levels I've reached, but maybe they want a successful part-time business, legitimate.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people out there that can have the legitimate part-time business and be very successful.
You have given so many gems. I just appreciate your passion for what you do. I love the love that you have for Shannon, your wife. Thank you so much for always believing in me and my goals and my dreams as well in the party industry. So I just want to say thank you for everything you've done for me.
Well, you're welcome. It's like one of those things, like your smile. I mean, I think I've always told you that. Like one of the first things was your smile was just so, I don't know, it just reeled me in. You couldn't help but smile back when I see your smile, and that your smile radiates this ball of energy. And it was like, not only did you have energy, it was like, damn, she could dance. And it was like, when I tell people I work with dancers, you always get the, look, and you know what I mean? Or
So true.
right?
Yes.
And they want what you have. They want that infectious, good feeling that so many people strive for in life, for happiness.
Yeah, absolutely.
All
right. It has been such
Sorry.
a pleasure talking to you. No, you're good. Did you want to tell anybody where they can check your website out for Party Central?
So partycentralrocks.com. We're a special event production company, predominantly in entertainment with DJs and bands. We do lighting, sound, DJs, and we like to have a good time. So www.partycentralrocks.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, DJ Adam. Thank you.
Yes. All right, guys. As always, we're going to put it down here so you can find him. You guys, it has been a great Talk to Me Tuesday. Once again, it's your girl. You can follow me at it's your girl _Anja. Once again, it's your girl _ANJA. Make sure to like and subscribe and comment all the things. We'll see you guys next Tuesday. Go check out Adam. Bye, everybody.
Bye.